Financial Argument. Follow us on YouTube.
Let's get right into the economic collapse news. Now, as we continually look at this economy, we see that there are more and more individuals coming out telling us that this economy is not looking good. Now, we've been following the economy for a very long time, and we realize that this economy is deteriorating, it's contracting, and we've been looking at each sector. And what we're noticing right now is it's accelerating. And now the corporate media, some individuals are out there, financial pundits are out there saying, yeah, there might be a problem in the economy, but it's still strong. But there are those who are saying that, no, this economy is collapsing, breaking down. We have major problems. And what we're seeing right now is the economy is definitely not doing well. Each week, the CEO of Avondale Asset Management, Scott Krisoloff, publishes some of his observations from commentary provided by public company executives during earning calls. And what we see right now and what he sees is that there are problems. There's some major problems. For visa payments, for example, on the negative side, the global economy is not improving. Geopolitical tensions are very high. If we look at food, fast food, McDonald's, they're looking at this saying that people just don't have the extra funds to go out and spend on food. And we can see right now that as more and more people lose their jobs, it becomes more and more difficult to go out and purchase these type of items. And we can see that the Restaurant Performance Index is actually showing this, that individuals are looking at this saying, you know something, I don't have the funds, I don't have the money, I'm not just going out and purchasing food. I'd rather go and maybe purchase food in bulk. This way I can save some funds. Caterpillar, well, they are noticing that there's a decline for construction in North America. And the problem that they find themselves in is that it's not getting better. And things are actually getting worse. And they're noticing that this is not going to, get any better anytime soon. United Technologies, new equipment orders on sale basis in China are down by 10% during this quarter. And they're saying it's a very tough market right now because when they look around the rest of the world, it is not strong whatsoever. It is getting worse and worse as time goes on. And we can see that the economy is not doing well. And banks are not doing well. Things are deteriorating very quickly. Deutsche Bank, they're trying to just keep it sustained right now, contained. I guess that's the word they use. They like to say contained. They're trying to keep it contained. And we see right now out in Italy, we're getting indicators that there's a huge financial crisis in full swing right now. Because we can see that there are individuals, senior insiders, that are saying there are problems with the banking system. Giuseppe Guzzetti gave a speech at a conference in honor of World Savings Day. This is an international event. And we can see right now when he was talking about the banks, Atlante 2, this is one of the two bad banks created to provide much needed support for Italy's crumbling banking sector. And they're saying that this bank is completely underfunded. And the fund was set up in the spring to help Monte dei Paschi. And we can see right now that that bank, the bank that they set up, is a complete disaster. And what we're seeing right now is that these banks at any moment could collapse. Deutsche Bank at any moment could collapse. And when we look at this, we can see that this entire the entire system is getting ready to implode. There's no way around looking at this type of situation. Yes, we can say they're going to prop it up with more easy money, but guess what? These are Band-Aid fixes. We've seen them do this before, back in 2008, where they said, okay, let's create the funds, let's prop these corporations, the financial institutions up, but guess what? It's a Band-Aid fix. They haven't really fixed the problem. And as we move forward, the problem is just going to get worse. And we can see with the geopolitical indicators that we're receiving, the problem is getting worse because everything is tied into one entire thing that the central banks are controlling. Because remember, we have the Middle East. This entire system is created around the petrodollar system. And as the petrodollar system collapses and as the United States loses control over the Middle East, this affects the entire system. Then we have the debt, which the central bankers have created. It's unsustainable. It's growing. There's not enough revenue coming in. More and more people are losing jobs. The interest rates need to be kept very, very low to keep everything stable right now. There are some places around the world like Europe and Japan where the interest rates had to go to negative to keep things steady. They're even talking about negative interest rates here in the United States because as things continually get worse, they need to adjust. And as they keep adjusting, there's no place else to go because once you're in negative territory, where else do you go? There is no other place because the next step is then a collapse. And we're seeing that out throughout Europe, throughout the Middle East. The United States government, central bankers, they are preparing for war. They want this war to cover up this collapse. And from all the indicators that I'm looking at, when I look at the indicators out in the Middle East, in Europe, what's going on in the South China Sea, we are seeing a huge military buildup. And these indicators are showing that there's a reason for this. They're preparing to provoke a war. And we see right now out in Kiev, the Ukrainian military, they have deployed tube and rocket artillery, which is banned by the Minsk Agreement, to the contact line of Donbass. And we can see there are more troops, paid mercenaries coming into this area. They are preparing for something huge in this area. We see on October 17th, there was a close flyby in Syria from U.S. Boeing E-3 early warning control system AWACS plane and a Russian Su-35 bomber. And of course, the United States came right out and said, "Oh, Russia, they're highly aggressive. They flew very close." And then we come to find out that actually it was the United States that did this. And actually, the American Air Force called Russia to apologize for the incident. And what we see happening here is that as the U.S. Boeing E-3 airborne early warning control system plane was flying in this area, it dropped its altitude to provoke the Russian Su-35 fighter jet. And what we're seeing right now is that as this plane was flying over Deir ez-Zor in eastern Syria, the American aircraft went down almost 0.62 miles from its flight level and dangerously approached the Russian Su-35 jet. Now, Russia told the United States at what level the Su-35 was flying at, to make it clear, this is where we are, we know where you are, and then all of a sudden, the AWACS plane decided to drop in altitude. And we can see this was a provocation. They were using it as propaganda. The pilots most likely were instructed to do this. Out in Mosul in Iraq, we understand the battle is going on in that area, and we can see right now we're getting reports from Amnesty International that there was white phosphorus munitions that had been used in this area. And what they're saying is that most likely it came from the coalition forces because the dispersal pattern appeared to resemble the US-made 155 millimeter M825A1 projectiles. And we can see right now from the explosion, they noticed how it was formed. It was wedges of white phosphorus over an area of about 250 meters, and they say this is consistent with the coalition ammunition. And we can see right now that the forces that use this is the US-led coalition, or the Iraqi security forces, or the Kurdish Peshmerga, because the United States supplies them with this type of ammunition. And we can see right now that they're using white phosphorus, which burns the skin. It's completely illegal to use on people, and actually they're breaking international law once again. We see right now that the moderate rebels, the Islamic State, al-Nusra, al-Qaeda, the terrorist groups, they are using poison gas, and they have fired it on the Syrian forces in Aleppo. And we can see right now, most of the time that we hear about poison gas or chemical weapons, it turns out to be the moderate rebels, the terrorist groups that the United States government central bankers support. And we're seeing this once again. We see the Russian embassy is continually being shelled in Damascus. And this happened on Friday. 2 mortar shells came from the moderate rebel terrorist area, and they are sending Russia a message. Now, we have an update in Turkey where we had a travel advisory, and what they're telling the families right now in Istanbul is to leave that area. And they're asking families, government workers to leave the area. Now, Erdogan is trying to enact the death penalty for dissidents. Now, they got rid of the death penalty back in 2004 when they tried to seek out accession to the European Union. But now it looks like he's trying to bring it back. And we see right now there are many things occurring all here at once. We understand the United States government central bankers, they are starting the offensive in Aleppo. They have brought the Islamic State from Mosul into Raqqa, then into Aleppo. Of course, they morphed into the other terrorist groups, or the moderate rebels, whatever they want to call them, to make it look like, ooh, we don't have the Islamic State here. So the offensive is happening there, using poison gases, and they're shelling Russia right now. We have the propaganda that Russia was flying very close to a U.S. plane, which turned out to be the opposite of what happened. And we can see right now there's an additional warning out in Turkey where they're asking the families to leave this area immediately. Now, every time we hear something like this, this tells us something is in the works. It's not about a terrorist group hit. They're not looking to kidnap American people. They're looking to have an incredible event. Last time we saw the families told to leave in advance, it was a coup d'etat in Turkey which went bad. And now we are seeing the same thing happen. So this means there's going to be some type of an event in this area, or they're going to make a huge power play in Syria, and they want most of the families out of this area. And we can see that right now things are really heating up. We understand the elections are coming up. We understand the economy is deteriorating very quickly. And we can see right now that when the United States is about to lose Aleppo, the United States government central bankers are going to create a major, major event. And they have been trying for a very long time to get Syria. And it looks like the opposite is happening. They are losing. They don't have the ability to keep Syria and remove Assad. They don't have the ability then to go into Iran. And what this tells us, and from all the indicators that we've been looking at throughout this time and the future indicators that are coming up, we notice and we understand that everything is in place right now for the United States government central bankers to create this event. And they're just waiting for the right time. And we can see that, for instance, if the elections go wrong, because you know what they're planning right here. They're planning on having Clinton take office. That's their main goal. I mean, people can pretend, people can look the other way, but their goal is to have Clinton take office. I don't really care which candidate gets into office because it's not going to matter at this point. The shadow government, the central bankers, the elite, they really run what is going on here. They just want someone to obey what they want. And they need someone that they know that will obey. And if they don't get that person in here, it looks like we're going to see something dramatic happen. Now, we have this election coming up. It's in a couple of days, and they're prepared to blame Russia for creating a cyber attack on the election system, which will postpone the elections. We see there's a huge event occurring out in the Syria-Turkey area, because we know that the United States government central bankers, they're going to need some type of an event because they're backed into a corner and they have no way out of this. And if the popular vote right now is so out of whack with what they want to do, this is going to pose a huge problem. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's not going their way. We see the event on the day of the elections. They make an announcement there's a cyber attack, a special report that will come up interrupting the elections. And we can see right now that they're ready to pull the plug on this entire thing. And it looks like, from everything that we've been looking at, that they are ready to go. And what does this mean? Well, they're prepared and ready to bring down the economy. If the popular vote is not going in the way they want, and Trump is leading by quite a bit, and they're not getting the candidate they want, because it's going to be very hard to explain how the Electoral College voted in Clinton when the majority of the people are saying no. This is going to be a huge problem for them. And this is why they're getting ready to have something occur to explain away why they needed to stop this for, they'll tell you, a week, 2 days, 3 days, maybe a month, or whatever it's going to be, but they'll say it's temporary. And we know what's going to happen. As they say it's temporary, it's going to be permanent, because days after that, weeks after that, we're going to see event after event after event, because they're going to be full throttle, full ahead to create these events to bring down the economy, get us into war, and this way they don't have to talk about the elections right now. They'll have a complete distraction. And this is why everyone needs to get prepared and ready for what is about to happen. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.